Welcome back to Kin in Line. I make this part 162. We're in the early 2000s and my son Doug is taking extra lessons on the trombone with a lady down in Summerstrand or Humewood, I forget. And anyway, I accompanied him. So he was in high school already. And yeah, it was quite amusing. At one point, I think he used his foot to extend that section of the trombone because his arm was too short. I forget her name, but this is the young lass who, who taught him, gave him a few tips on playing the instrument. And Luke and I sat in on part of it, I think. This is old Luke looking contemplative again. He's now qualified, well, he has a doctorate in something to do with ecology, which is a bit beyond my knowledge base. This was a guy who was the deputy head at Alexander Road, who I can't remember his name, Dr. somebody or other. And this, I have no idea where or when. Looks like a cricketer. I do remember this thing. We were at the reclamation ponds at Cape Recife, Luke and I, bird watching, and we came across this exotic looking bird. So I just sketched it and made a few notes about the colouring, and we later did an inquiry and discovered that this thing was an escaped sort of caged bird from Asia or something, and they were the birding fraternity were a little bit upset that this thing had infiltrated an indigenous birding spot. On another occasion, we were at the Apron Strings restaurant out near on the road to Sardinia Bay, and they had this old telephone there. You just sort of make it out, which I sketched over 2 pieces of paper, and then I just sort of joined them up. So this is what I grew up with I think in my great aunt's house. She had one of these old phones. And this was at Schoenmakers Corp. It looks like it's in the Karoo, but I think this might be at Schoenies. One of my kids, still young then, obviously, in amongst those interesting rock formations. One of the most attractive parts of PE is that section, Schoenmakers Corp to Sardinia Bay. And they're a very hard piece of card, and probably on the same occasion I must have sketched them both. Not the greatest of sketches, but actually with a bit of colour I could liven that up. You'll get all sorts of, I used any bit of scrap paper I could. It's called recycling, but actually this one doesn't work at all. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about these. During our visit to the Cradock Mountain Zebra National Park, I also did these sketches on these long strips of paper or card, and trying to capture these interesting mountains. So it's the lines you've got to look at and appreciate. modelling of the form here in the landscape. And there's another one done vertically, looking kind of up the valley from where our accommodation was. This was on a different occasion. The previous occasion we were probably down in that valley, and this time we were up at the main base, the main camp of this place. And yeah, some nice rolling hills, nice mountainous landscape there. Also there, I think, at Cradock Mountain River, there's this, I'll do this little sketch of a krantz with these boulders. Sort of, I think, yeah, that's one of these big boulders had rolled down. I've showed it in a previous post. And my wife, Robin, somewhere on a mountain, as is our wont. And that's how she often stands, with one arm behind, tucked behind the other. Now, what have we here? Here I've seen a bird and tried to record where. Don't remember doing that at all. Probably done on the farm, that Karoo farm, 2 young cattle, heifers or whatever they're called. And the one at the back sort of becomes part of the landscape. It's like almost a mountain. Talking of which, there is a mountain. Quite like the shading technique. Unfortunately, this paper hasn't foxed, you know. So why is this paper better than the other? Always got to look on the back of my drawings. There might just be another one hiding. Looks like some sort of weird-faced creatures. And this is a nice study from high up, looking over at Loskrans. So on that farm again at near Stainsburg, lovely urn-like vase outside with flowers. And another without flowers. Here again, it's all about the lines of the shading. And 2 cats, which they still have 2 when last we were up there last year. Oh, and that was the resident lion. Just kidding. Just going to do this group. Now these might actually probably work better on the phone than they do in real life. Using, again, I chose a fairly dark grey paper, rough paper, and a 2 hard pencil when I went out birding with Luke. So this is Luke looking up see if he can spot a bird. And I coloured it color actually is quite interesting, watercolor on this paper. The texture and the darkness gives the highlights even more highlighted, the yellows and oranges. So it's quite dark, but fortunately this camera lightens it. This was Luke getting down on his knees to check for a southern chagra, or one of these birds that live down in the thickets, and not often seen but very often heard. In Settlers Park that would have been. This, can't work out the species here, but I tried to draw one of other of the birds we spotted. And this is Lucas, looking older than his probably 15 or so years. Semi-abstract really. In the veld at Settlers Park, to which I would now no longer go, because it's just not safe. I'm not sure, I think this was also in Settlers that we encountered this person looking about. And then there's this stretch of river. Looks like a bird standing there, but I somehow doubt it. So again, this is just like an abstract. So is this these plants now? What are they called? Arum lilies. But I sort of just used that drawing as a way of making a little abstract. And what the heck was that? Oh dear. This was a mouse bird, I think. Not the most attractive birds on earth. But of course I've really made that look rather nice. Part of the beauty of Settlers Park is it's in the Barkens River Valley, and if you look up to the skyline on the left as you head seaward, you get these settler cottages or sort of late 19th century houses. So that's one of them overlooking this jumble of stuff which I didn't really paint very well, but anyway, it's an abstract, semi-abstract from life. I'm going to call it quits for now. Cheers.